Welcome to Born for the Trades, a home service podcast. I'm Shreya, your host for today. Before we move on to today's episode, which I'm really excited for, I want to give a shout out to two companies that have been making sweeping changes to the home service industry lately, and that would be Elite Call, the outbounding specialists, which is a service that brings wasted leads and brings them back to life to create more opportunity and keep the dispatch boards full and integrate into Service Titan for you. And Rilla, which is big buzz all around, the sales coaching AI software that holds the technicians accountable and gives them support and guidance they need to maximize all the opportunities you spend your hard-earned money on. So bringing those leads back to life and then making sure we hit a home run with them with the sales coaching software. So they work really well together. And today I'm really thrilled to welcome Kyle Hagen, president of A-One Air in Pasco, Washington. And Kyle took the reins of his late father's HVAC business in 2010 from 400,000 in annual revenue to 9 million last year, with projections to hit 12 million this year, which is a huge accomplishment. Kyle is an excellent example of protecting and growing a family legacy. To me, that's what I really get from his story. And welcome, Kyle.
Thank you, Shreya. It's great to be here.
Of course, of course. I was just really interested in your story, especially my favorite stories are legacy stories. Because it's just really interesting to see, you know, the father's business being handed off to the son and what happens there, psychologically, generationally. And so I wanted to dive in with a couple of questions about that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Now let's jump into it.
Awesome. So let's start from the beginning. When you took over A-One Air, when it was a smaller operation, 400,000, what were your initial steps when you got in there to start transforming it into the multi-million dollar business it is today? What problems did you notice and what steps did you take to improve those?
Shreya, holy shit. I mean, you're gonna take me for a ride down memory lane. Are you sure you want to go down there?
I do. That's exactly. I want to go all the way to the beginning because your story could help people at that point, and then the breaking 5 million point, and then the
Yeah.
breaking 10 million point. So you have so much value. I want to go through each section.
Okay. So yeah, so I mean, ever since I was a little boy, I remember, probably 4 or 5 years old, riding in the back of my dad's Datsun pickup truck. So I think that was the first truck that had the little extended cab in it, and just a
Okay.
small little truck. And I think it probably right around then, 5, 6, 7, it hit me that I really like. I just enjoyed that because he, worked hard, worked with his hands, and but back then it was A-One Refrigeration and Heating. So his core business was refrigeration work, bars, restaurants, and small appliance repair. So that's really how the company started and originated from. So, growing up in the trade and in the business, me and my dad both quickly realized, both being two Aries, there's only room for one of us.
Right.
So I
Was there,
left.
so there's a bit of a power struggle there, like you're both maybe more alpha leaders and too
Yes.
similar almost?
Yeah, very much so. Very
Interesting.
much. Now, after work, we could get along great, but during work, it didn't work. It just didn't work. And so, as a young man, I left, made my own way, moved off to Wyoming, stayed in the trades, continued working, but me and my father were actually getting ready to buy a business in Sun Valley area. And his company was really degressed. It was just him, a couple guys, still just doing the same thing, no forward thinking, still writing paper, just minimal work to get by. Like that was his
Rolodex.
mentality. Yes, roll it. Yes, Rolodex, and just stacks of invoices on his desk.
Oh my
That
gosh.
that's how it was. And then I like to say Marge, Marge in the office smoking cigarettes, answering the phone. I'm just like,
Stuck in the
so
80s, huh?
yeah, yeah, the 80s and 90s. So we were going to buy this company in Idaho, and we go to dinner. My dad shows up with a cashier's check, and we're going to execute a deal the next day. And we go to dinner, and it dawned on me. I'm like, Dad, what are you going to do with A1? And the tears started in his eyes, and he said, well, I guess I'm just going to have to close it because I can't keep doing what I'm doing. And I didn't sleep that night.
Right.
And yeah, the next morning, um, I asked my dad for that cashier's check and said, wait, we're not going to do this. I'll come home. And that was 2007. And so I came home and just went to work. He passed away in 2010. Had a bad bout of cancer. Was only 60, and so I got 2 good years with him. And the same power struggle happened in 27, 28. But finally, this time it was like, Dad, look, you need to make a choice. One of the two of us is going to go home. It's going to be you, or it's going to be me. And at that moment, he realized, okay, I'm not battling this battle no more. He went home, he retired, took a vacation for a year, probably, really, and then got sick. And I just kept working, and I had a couple really good guys. One of those men, Oscar Vasquez, is still with me to this day. He's
Awesome.
yeah, he's worked at A1 longer than I have. And
Wow, that's so
yeah,
rare.
it is. It
Talk
is.
about retention.
Yes. Yeah. Our culture is rich and healthy, So, uh, 2010, after a long bout of cancer, I just worked as hard as I could just to keep bills paid and keep his name clean. At the end of it, when he finally passed, I sat down with his accountant, and his accountant, Shreya, told me, you need to bankrupt that business. It's not worth nothing. It's not worth nothing. It's not your debt. It's not your problem. Don't do it. The problem that I had, how do you bankrupt a company that's 30 years old? And so I'm going to go to those creditors the next day, those vendors, and say, oh, hey, I'm Kyle with A-One Refrigeration and Heating too.
Right.
That don't work.
Right.
That don't
It's a
work.
very niche situation that you're
Yeah,
going through there.
yeah, yeah. And so what I decided to do was clear my dad's name. And that's what I did. I went to work, I put my head down, and it took me about 18 months to get out of it. Once I got out of it, Shreya, I was home free.
How did you get out of it? Because that's super relevant. A lot of people are going through that where they're about to file bankruptcy for a fresh start sort of thing. So what steps did you take? Was it just straight grinding in general? Was it focusing more on HVAC and certain strategies that you used?
That's a great question. I was really fortunate to be able to leverage his 30 years of history.
To sell
To
and for
sell.
marketing?
Yeah, to sell and market. He had some really good commercial accounts and some large commercial projects that needed to happen. And me, Oscar, and two other guys, I was able to lead them, and just we went after it, and we just, I mean, the shit that we did and the hours that we worked, 12, 1, 2 in the morning on top of refrigeration systems, changing compressors, and we were just not going to fail. And Oscar had the same buy-in I had because he loved my father. My father loved him, and Oscar believed in me. And so we just we grinded. I mean, we fucking grinded. And
Yeah.
there was a joke back then. Oscar, you got your cot in the back of your van. I got my pillow. You got your pillow? Because that's what it was,
And the
you
pee
know?
bottles. Don't forget the pee bottles.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We all
And
had
you just,
those.
yeah, yeah. So it's crazy to think about that then and to be where we are now. But then to fill in that gap in the middle, I had some great mentorship. The Everest Group, Hans McGuire, Steve Kurtz,
Yeah.
Alex, I had some great vendors that really believed in what we were doing. So I was able to really learn fast that the real good work is residential.
Yeah.
You're paid now. The margins are the best.
Yeah.
And just provide value and service.
Totally.
And yeah, yeah.
Like, would I rather have a couple big whales that I could lose and it would make a big impact on my business, or a lot of minnows, sort of analogy? A bunch
Yes.
of minnows. If I lose one, it's like, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're also reoccurring minnows and I get paid now. That makes total sense. So from the first year, totally realistic. I love that. Grind it out. First
Yep.
year sort of thing, first 18 months. And then at the next stage, the mentorship really came in to think of new ideas and start to think about the future, maybe delegation at
Yep.
that point. And from the 1 to 5 mark, what were specifically, was that year 3 or like, I want to know more
Um,
about the 1 to 5 mark just for
yeah,
those listening.
so the first year, 800,000, the second year, 1.3, and then the third year was a full jump to 2.6.
Wow.
Um, in the third year, I brought my oldest daughter, Carly.
Yeah.
She stepped in, had graduated college with an associate's in business before she graduated high school. So she would come in the afternoon directly. She's like, I'm always molding her, sculpting her, and she's like, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, well, I got something you can do till you figure out what you want to do. You
Right.
can come work at the shop. And she's like, okay, that's great. And just started answering phones. My secretary at the time took a 2-week vacation, and Carly, and this would have been the third year. Carly really started digging in, opening mail, and she just had a knack for a computer and learning and taking phone calls. And by the time the office gal got back 2 weeks later, I had her stuff boxed up and she was fired. I'm like, Carly, you got yourself full
Yeah.
time. You got a
Yeah.
full time job now,
Did
and
she
and so
fall in love with it too? Because she was
yes,
good at it. Anything
yeah,
you're good
yeah,
at, like you can fall in love with.
yeah,
Was it sort of
yeah.
like that?
Yes, exactly. And she made money, you know, and she
Right.
wasn't serving coffee. She wasn't doing any of that. So she had a couple of those other jobs, but she wasn't doing that. So she was happy and yeah, come answer phones and help. And so yeah. So from year 3, 1.3, 2.6 doubled in revenue again.
Yeah.
3.5. And then that fourth year, I think we kind of staggered a little bit there. But by the fifth year, we broke that $5 million mark.
Right.
And I can honestly say at 5 million, if I could have figured out a way to stay there, I probably would have.
I want to give a special shout out to Rilla, the sales coaching AI software that holds the technicians accountable and gives them the support and guidance they need to maximize all the opportunities you spend your hard-earned money on. Our friends at Elite Call, the outbounding specialists, a service that brings wasted leads and brings them back to life to create more opportunity and keep the dispatch board full, integrate them right there into Service Titan for you.
I want to give special shout out to Grow Reviews, one of our sponsors, America's first platform to capture instant text and video reviews. If a picture is 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. Book a demo with Grow Reviews by visiting website www.growreviews.com, and you can get in touch with their sales reps to book a demo.
Tell me about that.
It's easy.
I
It's
see.
easy. It's easy. If you can do 5 million with 5 people, 6 people,
Right.
simple. If you're doing 5 million with 15 people,
Uh, yeah,
it don't work.
right.
There's nothing left.
And now
There's
you're
nothing
9
left.
million with, so you're 5 million with how many people, 9 million with how many people? And then what are some of the logistical issues that you've noticed?
So cash flow is king. Getting paid is the most important, but you have to know your numbers. You have to know what your gross margins are. You have to know what each employee is costing you. And if you don't know your overhead and you can't quantify your labor back to a percentage, and you're just pricing jobs to price them where what feels good, you're fucking guessing.
Right.
Just work for somebody during the day and go moonlight. It's
Totally.
easier.
If you're a
There's
business
less.
owner, should know how to run a business, right? And that's pretty fair statement, I think. But
Yeah.
of course, there are blue collar people like, it's probably the last thing that's learned realistically in
Yep.
opening, a home service business. So how were you educated on those things?
I went to the University of Hard Knocks.
Oh, trial and error?
Trial and error, baby.
Oh man.
Trial and error. So the only reason I can say that now is because I had to learn the hard way. So
Right.
I had years of stagnant at A1. And I had to figure out and learn those numbers, those KPIs. And once you can really run a business by just the number itself, takes the guesswork away. And then when you have a blueprint, a plan, and you plan for that growth, you structure for that growth, it's fun again, you know?
Mm.
And so for me, I still have a job at A1. I'm a sales manager and a phone closer. That's my job. I had to put my phone on silent. My phone's rang 3 times since we've been on the podcast.
Yeah, I
That's
assume
my job.
so.
Yeah. And I love that part. I have a full team that takes care of everything else, but I'm still involved because I love to be involved.
Right. Well, that's big because I noticed you started when you were telling your story about how growing up in HVAC. You really do have a passion for HVAC. You were an HVAC kid. You grew up on that. So I was, and then you told the story about your daughter, Carly, and
Mm-hmm.
how maybe she didn't quite have a passion for HVAC, but she had a passion for feeling productive and
Yeah.
producing something important
Mm-hmm.
that pays well and it really helps people, sort of thing. And you kind of fall in love with it naturally that way. And I think that shows that no matter where you're coming from, if you fall in love with it, if you take a liking to it, there's a lot of success on the other side of that. But if you
Yes.
hate it, then that's an issue. Because could you imagine doing what you're doing, the energy and grinding it out if you're not in love with it somehow?
Yeah, you don't like it, you don't enjoy it. And if you're forward facing on the phone or retail sales, your client's going to read right through that.
They know. Transference of belief. If you hate
Yeah.
it, they hate it too. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
they could read
And
that
if it's
totally.
not important to you, like if it's not important to me, how am I going to convey that importance to a customer?
Mm,
You can't.
yeah.
And if I
And
don't believe in my company and believe in what I'm doing, how am I going to convey that to my client? I can't.
was there ever a time that you had a phase? Because I've seen this happen to people, even the HVAC kids that, now own the business and it's their childhood dream and it's that story. Sometimes people fall out of love with it for a period of time, almost like a business depression, sort of thing, and then get back on the horse, hopefully, somehow. Have you ever gone through anything like that?
Yeah, very much so. So I don't. I'm blessed. I don't have to be a phone closer now. I don't have to be involved in A1. Um, but I have a whole new sense of want and desire. So I probably started to fall out of it 3, 4 years ago, just burnout. I'm
Yeah.
50. I've worked hard since I was 15. and I was just burnt, you know. And now, like so we're pacing for 12M this year. Next year we'll crush 18.
Yeah.
And the following year I know I'll crush 24. And so it's fun again. Because we have a map, we have a plan, we have the structure, we have the process, we have the systems, we have great people. We have no problem getting great people. I hear so many people say, I can't, it's hard to find good people. It's hard. Well, fucking look inside your own company. Why is it hard to find good people?
Right.
Well,
I love that.
are you just a shithead? Or are you an asshole to work for? Or do you not pay?
Yeah, you have to look at yourself in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
If they're not coming around.
Yeah. What three is it? You know,
Mm,
it's probably one of the three. So
yeah.
and we're blessed in a great community. You know, our community is great. What's the difference in here in Oklahoma?
I was just talking about it earlier with somebody from Oklahoma. And it's funny because they were kind of asking me like, but where you were was really different and this and this and that. And I'm like, I'm in LA. People in Oklahoma are extremely nice. You could make up any reason, why the areas are so different, and why not look at the positive ones of, oh, I live in the town with the nicest people, and not look at how they're all, engineers and they
Yeah.
hound you
Yeah.
sort of thing. Just look at the positives. And if you do that, I notice in sales and in company scaling and in marketing that it just blows up from that point. And it trickles down to the employees too. It's like whatever you believe is going to project on your people. So what's been your experience with that, of like your own mindset? You see it projected onto your people positively and negatively in leadership.
So for me, it's really simple. My greatest asset, it's not me, it's my people. I don't call employees my employees. I don't call them, well, you work for me. No, no, you're my coworker. I have a
Right.
job to do. You have a job to do. And my number one job, I always refer to it as a three-legged stool. My job is to take care of you, my coworker. Your job is to take care of our customer, and my customer's job is to take care of us. If you kick any one of those legs of stool out, it falls.
Right.
I can't, Shreya, I've probably fired more customers than coworkers. You know,
That's solid.
because if you're not going to treat us right, or you're going to disrespect us, or you're not going to pay us, or you're going to talk down to us, fuck off.
That's so solid, because some people throw their own people under the bus, sort
No.
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I do is, I mean, my technicians, every one of my technicians, they're well over 6 digits a year. Salespeople are substantially over that.
Yeah.
Office people are bumping right to that. You know, so it starts from the guy in the warehouse to the guy cleaning the van, the guy stocking the van, to the guy doing the service call. It's 5-star customer service every step of the way. Everything we do, 5-star customer service. And if we're not delivering that, we want to know why. And at the end of the day, when we do make a mistake, because we make mistakes, I have a 100% money back guarantee. I've been challenged on that once. I had to issue a 100% refund for a full system I installed. 100%. We botched it. We botched it. They're just, and I step into that, not in my shoes, not in defense of my company, but what happened to my client? What did we do here? And if they can convince me that we failed them, I don't question it.
That's confidence. And that alone, like having the guarantee, just exudes confidence that, of course, we're going to get the job done, right? Because if we don't have the job. It's one way or the other. I absolutely love that. And I think people should take more of that risk, even though it's not a risk if you have a great install team and you're going to do the right thing. And you mentioned earlier, you mentioned mentors and vendors along the way, so from the 5 to 9 mark, what are some key vendors? I know that you've worked with Elite Call. recently, and
Yeah.
what is your experience with Elite Call? Because I know they've been like really, introduced to the industry in the last 2 years, and I've heard a lot of good things, but I feel like people don't really know as much as maybe they should at this point. So can you share your experience with that?
Yeah. So I met Jack Pinsel and Travis French at Victor Rancourt's Profit Rocket in 22 in Las Vegas. I think that might have
I
been the
th
last time I saw you.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I think we're all there. I was hanging
Yeah.
out with them there too. They were like the people to hang out with,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I ran into them. And what Jack has done for us, Travis, Leslie, she's the go-to, right?
Yes.
Like when we need slots filled on that board, they fill them. And I'll be honest, it was a little bit rough at first. Like the first campaign was a little rough. The second campaign, I don't know how many campaigns I've had since then. Um, it's just smooth. And Jack is like me. I can pick up the phone and call Jack right fucking now, and he'll answer his phone.
Right.
You know, and so he's very much involved in his business. And they're just good people. They're just good
Yeah.
people. And so you're not going to hit any other metric until you have a single job. And so you, to get that board filled with those single jobs, to start converting, you got to start right there. And so Jack has been instrumental. Elite Call has been very instrumental in us getting those single calls. Now, from the 8 million to 12 million, Lewis Landon,
Lewis and
Platform
Landon,
Partners, yeah,
solid.
those guys.
Yeah, they're like
Lewis is,
Yoda.
oh, Lewis is, when I talk to Lewis, I'm like, bro, will you slow down? Okay, come back. You
He's
know,
like
it
probably
just,
has too much information going
oh,
on, like has so
oh,
much.
yeah, yeah. And Landon, um, he's just a walking genius. But the
Yeah.
thing about Prime is they're different. That what makes Prime special. Um, they got the roadmap. They have the blueprint. And if you're lucky enough to get it,
Right.
you're blessed. But what makes them different from every other group or best practices group is those men fundamentally care about your success from the bottom of their heart. Like
Hmm.
it's the same thing. They're a phone call away. Like if I'm having an issue, I can call either one of those two, but the team that they have behind them, it's amazing. And so
Right.
now for me as an owner that could be passive, I no longer want to be passive. Like I want to be in the middle of it, grinding this thing to 50M. Like that's my dream now. So from a little boy to see it to go to here, and now to know where it can go
Mhm.
is it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super helpful for the listeners and looking for the right kind of support. Because of course we all need support in different areas, or it makes more sense to outsource, maybe outbounding
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But knowing that it's effective experience and not just a personality hire. Because
Yeah.
honestly, it was too good to be true how much I liked them as friends and as people that I'm like, could their service match up to how fun they are, or is
Mm-hmm.
that making up for the service? And I figured out, no, it's real and it's
It's
effective and it really
yeah,
works.
yeah,
And
it does.
yeah, I
Yeah, it very
appreciate
much
that.
does. Yeah.
And lastly, I know that you fly jet pilots and you
I
spend
do.
a
I
lot
fly
of
it.
time with your family, and everybody's looking to how could I achieve this benchmark or this goal of 10 to 12 million in my business and be able to balance my passions and my personal life with my family. So how have you accomplished that?
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. it's only been of the last really 24, 36 months that I've been able to put myself first. So until then, my life has been about everybody else, my children, my coworkers, like whatever was left is what I got. Um, and so now, I think it really just comes back to, if I would have known this a long time ago, you have to take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. So when you can put yourself first, faith, and just mentally and physically, you know, don't eat the fucking double cheeseburger. Have the salad and steak. Get your fat ass out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you can't go to the gym, then walk a mile.
Yeah.
You know,
Extra
so
effort.
yeah. So
Gotta put it in.
discipline, strength. And so when you can make that mental shift and you can focus on yourself, then it's easier for you to give more to the people around you, right?
Right.
And it's easier for you to be a better leader.
Yeah, it seems like it starts with a belief too, because I think a lot of people just don't have the belief system. They have the belief system that I'm eating this quick cheeseburger to get back to my family or get back to my work, and it is the best thing for everybody else, not really realizing the repercussions of what's going to happen later, where they're not able, you know, to do the things that they used to do because of that. So that's super insightful. It's pretty much and realistic. It's work harder, be more disciplined, wake up a little earlier and make it happen and prioritize those things so that you can create your own work-life balance and not relying on the business to do it for you or outside circumstances to make it happen just automatically, because it never will, probably.
No, it's not going to happen. And then just a strong management team, you know, like-minded individuals and just strong management, you know?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Shreya, core belief, you know, you have to believe in no matter what it is. I don't care what faith, I don't, but if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, it's easy for you to pass that on to your people.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, and you can make yourself believe things. That's why I like tell, it's scientifically true that like if I'm realizing I have a limited belief in something, I can change my own beliefs. It doesn't, I don't have to rely on it happening naturally. I just train myself to believe differently. I almost brainwash myself for the greater good sort of thing. So I totally understand what you're saying. And I just feel like you gave so much value in this episode because you know, some people, we get some owners at, you know, this place and this place, it could be 300 million, but you know, this is the perfect spot to reflect 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 plus, and seeing all the strategies in your experience there. You talked about family, legacy, and business. There are just so many topics. You have so much experience that it's just going to help that many more people. So I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your Teams day, buzzing up your phone to meet with me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Shreya. And if I can help anybody out there, I'm all about helping fellow tradesmen and just fellow men and women. So I'll be glad to.
What's the best way for them to contact you?
Facebook, Instagram, you know, I'm on social media. I probably don't reply too often, but yeah, you can get me at Kyle Hagen, Facebook. What's my Instagram? Oh, Kyle A Fly Guy at Instagram.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, you're gonna have some people hitting you up then. Be careful.
Sounds good. Let me know. Maybe we'll do this again as we're bridging the 12:15 mark.
Please. Yes, I would love to. I'll get you locked in for that so we can do an update episode. Those are my favorite because it just shows people are doing what they said they would do confidently. You know, they just know it's going to happen. And I know it's going to happen for you with how things have been going. So I'm just really happy for you, your growth and your team. And I just want to say thank you to all the listeners and the people that have supported this podcast for such a long time. And we will see you on the next one.
Thank you, Shreya.